My name is John Passfield. I'm going to read from my novel Elenora Duse, Let Me Have My Wings. The title of this reading will be Elenora Duse, Video 8, an interview with Duse, Part 1. So here's the cover of the novel Elenora Duse, Let Me Have My Wings, a novel by John Passfield, a photograph of the historical Elenora Duse. Here's a summary on the back of the novel. Elenora Duse spends her whole career producing, directing, and acting in the great female roles of the theatrical repertoire. She claims that when she's not on stage, she does not exist. A poet publishes a novel in which an aging actress's only role is to be a young poet's muse. The publication of the novel is a crisis for Duse, as the fictional portrait of a pathetic, clinging female threatens to fill the void and become her personal myth in the public mind. But her greatest fear is that the imagery of the poet's book will alter the way she thinks of herself. Well, each chapter of my novel has 50 image units, of which 4 image units in each chapter are of an interview between the main character, Elenora Duse, and a young reporter. There are 16 chapters in the novel, and the interview is in all 16 chapters. So, in the interest of brevity, I will read 5 chapters of the interview in this video, and the other 11 chapters of interview in other videos. So, let's go to chapter 1 then, page 4, and we'll just plunge into the interview. Here we are. An article about that novel? What is it called? The Flame? Well, tell me, why on earth would you come to me? There's no connection whatsoever between that novel and my life. No, absolutely not. No, I've never read it, nor do I ever intend to read it. Not even one scurrilous page. Yes, I've heard rumors. Yes, so-called friends have told me things. Now you come here to me and refer to it as a spotlight that is lighting up my life? No, this interview is over. This interview will not take place. It doesn't matter what I tell you. You did not come here for the truth. You could take and twist every word on the subject I would say. Why should I trust you? Why should I trust you? Why should I trust you to write the story as I tell it to you? Why would you come to me? Did he send you? Did he send you to stir up publicity for his treacherous book? Okay, then we leave out a couple of pages of imagery about other topics, other related topics, of course, and plunge into the interview again. How do I know that I can trust you? How do I know that what you say is in the book? I've not read from that book even one false and deceitful word. Look at my back. Look at my back. I'm turning around for you to see. What do you see? Just what do you see? It is a knife, a butcher knife, and that is my blood. Then another page of imagery we leave out. And you have come to twist the knife. Is that your plan? One more scurrilous scrap of gossip for sale in those grubby stalls? If I affirm, the tongues will wag. If I deny, the tongues will wag. I will never get out from under the weight of that book. Oh, who let you in? Was the door not locked? Put your hat back on your head. I will show you the door. That's in chapter 1. There's about a page and a half of imagery on related topics in chapter 1. And in chapter 2, about another page and a half of imagery before the interview resumes. Oh, are you still here? You surprised me. I thought that you had left long ago. Why do you linger on so? Do you have nowhere else to go? Don't you realize by now that I have nothing that I am willing to say? You never told me why you came here. Of course, I never expected you to tell. That is why I said I would walk you to the door. Shall I write your article for you? Shall I do what every interviewer has asked me to do? To tell them the meaning of my life and my career? To tell them what to write about what they have seen with their own bare eyes? Is this your greatest role, Senora? Is this the role for which you will always be known? Does this role place you ahead of Sarah? Do you or Sarah shine more brightly in the greatest roles? Just what are you to Sarah and Sarah to you? Well, the rest of the novel will tell you, the reader, that Sarah is Sarah Bernhardt, who is Elenora Duse's greatest rival in the late 19th century as actresses on the stage. So, you want me to give you my thoughts. I, who have never given my thoughts to the public before. I, who have let my great roles be the voices that speak for me. What a scoop this would be for you. Scoop, is that the word? Is that the journalistic word for a stab in the back? I pour my heart out for you. I give you my blood in a pool in your hand, and you pour it into the inkwell and then dip your pen? How much would your newspaper pay for such a confession? How many lira could I hold right here in my hand simply for letting you into my bedroom and into my mind? Does Sarah sell all those ridiculous stories that everyone reads? The stories of her pet monkeys and zebras and her baths in tubs of milk? Does she telephone this nonsense to you in time for your pressing deadlines, of course, when she knows the news will be slow on a quiet day? I have died more deaths than any of my heroines. Unlike Sarah, I die both on and off the stage. How does she manage the press that is being so cruel to me? And a few more pages of imagery we leave out. Oh, you are so eager to hear my confession. You would love to know what I think of this whole sordid business, of that scoundrel who stole my purse and stole my heart, of whether I've read his salacious drivel, fingers scorched as I turned each page, of whether I see my face in the pool of his fetid dreams. But no, I will never speak out on that subject. I do not caterwaul in the press. I am a mystery. I'm an enigma. I'm as silent as Sarah is loud. I will never rip open my bodice and show you my heart. But wait a minute. Where are you going? Since you're here, you might as well sit down. You make me nervous standing there. I will give you 5 minutes, and then out the door. First, though, you have to come to an understanding. I will ask you some pertinent questions before we proceed. Move your chair closer. Let me look into your eyes. I like to see a person's eyes, though I admit I've been fooled before. The question is, can I trust you? There are many actors who have never appeared on a stage. Have you ever met D'Annunzio? Do you know him? Have you had dealings of any sort with him at all? Have you interviewed him for your, your rag, your scandal sheet, your record of the life of our times? Did he send you? Did he send you to interview me? Are you perhaps my final coffin nail? Are you willing to promise me that you will deal fairly with me? That if I tell you things, which, mind you, I am probably not going to do, you will report them faithfully, accurately, as I tell them to you? That your primary goal in this exchange is to discover and report the simple truth? Of course, a child can lie and still not believe he has lied. He simply crosses his fingers behind his back, and I can lie to you in the same way. Are you keeping your eyes on my hands as I speak to you? I wish I could read your eyes. They are so sincere. But I've seen that look before. Is this a dagger which I see behind your back? And that's chapter 2, another page and a half of imagery. Then into chapter 3. Again, we leave out quite a bit. All imagery that is to do with the rest of her life. And it impinges on this interview. It modifies the imagery in this interview, and the imagery in this interview modifies the other imagery of her life. You're a reporter. You deal in words. You write with a pen. Ideas are the medium of your trade. Now I want to ask you something. What is the percentage of truth in each bottle of printer's ink? What does the label on the bottle have to say? You sit down at your desk, you dip your pen in ink. If one's thoughts are not pure, will the ink refuse to flow? Just what do we see when we look at the ink on the page? And how could I tell you the truth, even if I wanted to? Do you think that all of my memories are actual happenings? I've often wondered, but I'm no longer able to tell. We think with our memories, wouldn't you say? I imagine this to be true. We think with the things that have happened to us and what we have done. And the point that I'm making, I'm sure you can follow me and even leap ahead, the point that I'm making is simply this. How can we think if we don't know what our memories actually are? Again, a couple of pages of other imagery, life imagery, about the main character. Whoops, let me get my pages sorted out here. There we are. Did I ride in a cart or walk to Verona? Did the whole town come out to watch? Did Romeo actually live and actually die? Did I act Marguerite in London when I pushed Sarah off the shelf? Or was it Magda or Cleopatra or some other part? What if our thoughts are based on imaginings? Are we sitting on clouds or sitting on a stone? What is thinking if our thoughts are as thin as the air? You have come to interview me, but have you thought about your trade? Does every word open up a world to you? All of life is like a play in which one is acting. Here's the furniture, here are the walls, now get out on stage. And the only playwright, aside from God, is the self. We live the life we don't think about. We imagine the life that we do. Now, which of these two lives, if I do decide to talk, would I share with you? That's chapter 3. Here's chapter 4 with the interview continuing. Do you think that time is our greatest enemy? Do you think that time is our greatest friend? Ever wonder where the time comes from and where it goes? Find it difficult to sleep, read a good book, or sew, or crochet? Wonder why the clock is so reluctant to move? What is the brightest star in your heaven? What is the bitterest memory that lies at the bottom of your well? Are you at all introspective? Is that what you are? What is the loneliest night that you can remember? The night when the clock seemed to be laughing in your face. The night when the dawn held back an hour or two in spite. Ever spend a night in Venice? A lonely night out on the canal? In a gondola with an old man who just wants to go home? One by one, the lights are extinguished. Everyone's safely tucked in their beds. The only light is the one that you left burning in your room. Again, a few pages of imagery that would comment on this. You know, I didn't always want to be an actress, though I started at 4 years old. As time went on, I thought I would like to be one of the press. Seeing life as a goldfish bowl with other people than me as the fish, I would look at them through the glass and take the odd note. I would share these notes with my friends, what they ate and how they dressed, all the trivia that all my friends would want to know. What is the biggest trophy in your display case? The biggest celebrity that you have caught? What kinds of questions do you ask them to catch them off guard? Have you ever interviewed Sarah? What is the real Sarah like, you think? What is the Sarah underneath all the Sarahs we see? Perhaps you could write a book about Sarah's deepest thoughts. Sarah is such a publicity seeker. All you would have to do is scribble while Sarah talked. And that's chapter 4 as far as the interview goes. Here's chapter 5. Excuse me, I'll just clear my throat. The interview continuing. Are you an artist in your profession? Are you an artist in your life? Do you try to shape your life to an ideal? When you sit and eat your breakfast, when you walk across the street, do you think yourself as fashioning a work of art? Is there a moment when you dip your brush? What are the colors of the paint in the various cans? If your elbow knocks one over, what do you have? Do you ever wonder what life was like on the very first day? Imagine the end of that first day on Earth. The light was fading over the mountains. The people stood at the mouth of the cave. Each one wondered whether the light would ever return. Why did they make those drawings that we see on the walls of the caves? Those drawings were put there, I assume, at the end of that very first day. And why do the images get darker as we carry our fading torch deeper and deeper into the bowels of the cave? And when they looked at those paintings, what did each of them think they were seeing? The beast they had caught and on which they had feasted? Or the beast that got away? And who was alive because they had caught the beast, and who was dead for the very same reason? Or who was alive and who was dead because the beast got away? They didn't have answers. They had questions. They had questions expressed in art. A smear of paint from a natural source daubed on a wall. Well, this is not a popular subject, I'm sure. Art as a torch that illuminates life. All of life was there, do you see, on that very first day. It's what you find in all the great plays. Excuse me. It's what you find if you open your eyes, not what you find in the newspapers that are hawked on the streets. Perhaps you are an artist, whether you know it or not. You put ideas into people's minds. Your readers laugh and cry at your command. People rely on you for sustenance. Your words are their meat and their drink. You can light a candle for them or blow one out. Now you sit there nodding your head. You make me nervous. You make me sad. Perhaps I should throw myself off the balcony, or I should throw you. Well, I'll stop there because that's the end of chapter 5, and I'm breaking the interview up, as I said, into 3 videos. In reading literary criticism, I learned that the secret to the creation of serious literature, as practiced by the ancient Greek playwrights and Shakespeare, is simply this. Number 1, to write a surface narrative of characters in action, and number 2, to split that narrative surface at selected intervals and to insert deepening imagery into the surface narrative, which explores the psychology of the main character and the potential of the situation of the story to illuminate the realities of the human condition. For the ancient Greek playwrights, the surface narrative is split and augmented by the chorus. For Shakespeare, the surface narrative is split and augmented by the soliloquies. In detail, it is much more complex than this, but this is the simplest, clearest explanation I can make of the realization about the poetic play that set me off on the search for the techniques which would make for the poetic novel. This interview is one of the image techniques that I've developed for the poetic novel. In this novel, the interview, as I said, is in 16 chapters and in 4 segments per chapter. It is one of the image arcs, excuse me again, which the main character, whether consciously or subconsciously, hopes will illuminate the meaning of the surface narrative of her life. So just as the reader seeks meaning in a story, so too does the character seek meaning, and the means by which each does so is in the deepening imagery, which I have developed and which are in this novel. Now, this is on Amazon, the novel. I'll just hold it up again for a moment. Elenora, Duse, Let Me Have My Wings, a novel by John Passfield. It's on Amazon with more information. My publisher is rocksmillspress.com, rocksmillspress.com. More information there. My website is johnpassfield.ca, johnpassfield.ca. 2 books free there for access, free of access. A planning notebook in which I plan and write the novel, a journal in which I review the novel as I'm polishing the rough draft. So have a look at johnpassfield.ca if you're interested in the novel as an art form. Thank you for watching this video.